was pleased to see that the plan that was put together was so well done. But let me just say something as a parent with young children. I know there are many of you out there, parents and grandparents as well. To know that there are going to be more educational opportunities outside of the walls of schools in this area is something that is important, it's meaningful, and it's long-term. And to think that it has something to do in regards to science is even better. Because right now, in more than any other academic discipline, I think all of us are very aware of the needs for our children to become engaged and realize that science, engineering, technology, those are the academic disciplines that our children need to stay focused in on. And to have that rich resource here right in our backyard is just tremendous, and I'm looking forward to being a supporter.
Thank you. Now we have an opportunity to take some questions from the floor. And again, if you would stand and pose your question and try to keep succinct, and then we will, you can address it if you'd like to one of the candidates, and then I'll go through the order, or we can just continue the order we're going along with, which would have Wendy starting with a response. Who's got a question? Yes, sir.
Tom Woodstock, and my business materials. What is your position on government subsidizing so-called green energy? Should government do it, or should they keep their nose out of it?
Okay, green energy subsidies. Why don't we start with that?
Frankly, I can't think of too much other than decreasing the bureaucracy the government is really particularly good at. I think that green energy and businesses and private industry are going to make the most efficient and competitive choices, and I think I'm all in favor of green energy. I drive a Prius. I run my home very efficiently. I'm not in favor of government subsidies. I think that portion and is an example of the waste, and I think that needs to be cut back and given back to the people where it belongs. Thank you.
Okay. And next would be Ernie Lopez. Ernie, what do you think about government subsidies for green energy?
Thank you for the question. I think green energy is something that is important, and I'm looking forward to being supportive of it at the research level. And I think that research is being done in a dynamic and a tremendous fashion within our university systems. And while I support the infusion of early startup support, whether it be through R&D support from the state, from the Strategic Initiative Fund, or from the federal government, there should never be an overwhelming match or overwhelming support of government support or subsidies. That support should be coming from the private sector based upon the tested theories and successes of what's been done experimentally and through research.
Okay, thank you. And Andy?
Green energy opportunity is really a market-driven activity. And while we've seen several programs that include government subsidies over the last couple of years, we started to see a number of business opportunities that have taken the opportunity to leverage that in the beginning and move off and into their own environment. We're going to see several of those potential subsidies set back or reverse back even right here in the state of Delaware. And I'm also in for the opportunity to, in the initial research, to focus on the initial startup and to give it a limited amount of time in order to focus on allow the public opportunity, or the private opportunity and the market demand to take that forward.
Okay, thank you. Another question from the floor. You know there's a lot of issues around here. Let's see what these folks have to say about it. Yes, step right up. Okay, one idea that you can take to the state senate to make things better for small business. And we'll start with you, Ernie.
Kelly, thank you for the great question. I was sitting down with a former state representative the other day discussing small business, and he said, Ernie, we probably have about 1,000 employers from Dewey all the way up to Milton. Can you imagine if the state and you as a state senator made it possible and more flexible for those businesses just to hire one person? Just one. That would be 1,000 new jobs in this area. That's something that I took away and realize that as a state senator, being responsive to those small businesses, by not trying to make promises or not saying things that can't be done, but being responsive, working with other members of the General Assembly. There are other 21 members of the Delaware State Senate. It's a pretty tight group of people, but it's one that one person with a good idea and who's able to build consensus can stand up and bring people together for not just resources within the district, but throughout the state. And I think that's something that's extremely important. So the state stepping back and leveraging resources to make sure that our small businesses can be successful is extremely important.
Thank you, Ernie. And Andy, what do you think that the state can do to help small business? One idea.
Look at the regulatory issues that are prohibiting each of us from growing and expanding our own business, or from others who want to start up a business today. It's extremely important. As I started to focus on looking at growing the medical sector jobs, it became apparent to me there are lots of regulations in place today that prohibit doctors from moving into the state. I will give you several examples of a dentist, for example, who had, after 25 years practicing in the state of Maryland, to move his license into the state of Delaware. It took him almost a year. He had to take patients to a testing center and to make crowns and moldings after having a practice for 25 years. It took him almost a year to do that. Dr. Lee Goggola, down in Ocean View, who's a practicing psychiatrist in New York City for more than 30 years, said, Andy, in order for me to get my license and move it into the state of Delaware, I've got to go through all the testing, the curriculum, the practicum, and everything else. We have a lot of regulatory issues today that are prohibiting the growth and expansion, and I can talk through that at DelDOT. I can talk about entrances. I can talk about forward planning and roads. There's a lot of issues that need to be addressed at that level, and that's exactly what I'll do. Is I'll stand up in the small business community and make sure that we look at all regulatory issues to help us, each one of us, grow and expand.
Wendy, what one idea would you have for helping small businesses that you could effect from the state Senate side?
Just one, I think something that's common to us all is insurance. Currently, to the best of my knowledge, a small proprietor is not able, or at least has very little choice and prohibitive expense in trying to provide the insurance required to hire employees. So they're limited, and the largest sector on a national basis of new jobs and employers in general is small businesses. In Delaware, the single largest employer is the state. At this point, it is prohibitive. It's a catch-22 if you're a small business owner and you want to hire new people. I think that opening the insurance market to outside sources, or just opening it up to competition, is going to bring down the insurance levels and removing the roadblocks and oppressive stranglehold that the bureaucracy currently has on what is really should be the golden goose in Delaware.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We had another question back in this area. Yes, sir.
Touched on it a little bit there, but we have several small business concerns relating to the costs, government costs. For example, the minimum wage and health insurance is obviously a big tier for us right now, and now we're being told that we're going to have a large increase in our workers' comp insurance rates as well. I want to know how you guys feel about all three of those items, but more particularly on minimum wage and what you can affect to pertain for workers' comp policy.
Okay. Minimum wage and workers' comp. What was the first one, Rob?
Health insurance.
Health insurance.
Okay. All right, we're going to start with Andy on that one. Andy, what can we do about those areas?
Rob, thanks for the question. And, you and I had a brief conversation just prior to this about the workman's comp proposal that is going to affect every single small business owner in this room. In fact, today I've received a letter, as so several of my colleagues, have increased workman's comp by 45%. That's devastating to every one of us. What am I going to do as your state senator? I'm going to make sure we advocate on behalf of your interest to go to the insurance commissioner and talk to her about what those impact really is on each one of us. We need to ensure that our interests are represented. As I said earlier, I will make sure that we're promoting smart growth, economic opportunities down here, and that is one area I will address right away. Second, when you address minimum wage, certainly there's an appropriate time for a minimum wage, and we know that that's the foundation for how people make a living. But today, quite frankly, I don't think we're in an economic environment to move forward on for a minimum wage increase. While there may be a time to do that in the future, there certainly is not the opportunity to do that now, and that's after having lots of conversations with many of you here in the business community. So, in regard to medical services or healthcare, I think a lot of it has to do with at the national level, and I'm not sure there's a lot of opportunity that we're going to take on right here in the state.
Okay, thank you, Andy. And Wendy, we'll let you respond to that next. Workers' comp, health insurance, and minimum wage, what will you do to control those?
How long do I have to address?
1 minute.
Ernie, well, I think I mentioned something to do in the health insurance area already. And that's opening the market on a state basis. The requirements to provide health insurance, and it's very limited in Delaware because there is